Today I want to show you guys how to build or make a panel that has this pattern routed into it, and you can do this a couple different ways. I did this one on a router table because I have a slide for it. Here, but there's actually an easier way to do it that's going to be more accurate than what I did, and because I screwed up on this one a little bit, so I'd rather show you the easier way that you can do with more commonly found tools. And I'm just going to do it out of this piece of Baltic birch ply. All you need is a tape measure, pencil, straight edge like this level, some clamps, and a router, and the bit of your choice. I'm using a V-groove bit, but you can also use I don't know what it's called. I think it's like a V-round, like a round over bit where it goes to a point and then comes up and rounds over like this, and it'll make rounded edges for it. But I don't have one of those, hence why I did it with this V-groove bit. And you can use really any router that's going to hold your bit in it. It doesn't have to be one like this. I just happen to use Festool for mine, and this door is for this cabinet right here. So let's get into the meat of her. You're going to start by, you do some rough math or figure out what you want and decide what shape you want your diamonds or squares or whatever they're going to be. Mine, I have this divided up into 6 portions this way and 5 portions this way, and it gives me a longer diamond widthwise. And I've cheated on this one, and I've cut this plywood to size to make it incredibly easy to mark out. This is 500 millimeters, and I'm using millimeters wide, which gives me the 5 spaces. That way it's actually 6 across, I'm sorry. And then this is 360 tall, which gives me those markings across the top as well at every 60. And then you're just going to continue around and mark those out across the whole panel. You have everything marked out. You're going to take your straight edge. You can use this for marking out where the cuts are going to be that you're going to make, as well as you're going to use this to clamp to the board and use your router to route the slots that you need in this. And I'm just using it now to connect all these lines that I just drew so that I have a good idea of whether or not I'm following them later on. And the mistake I made in the other piece that I already made was that I didn't map these out. Ooh, something doesn't look right. Something might not be right here. Well, you're going to have to forgive me, and I'm going to have to start over on the other side because as easy as that, I've made a mistake. Be right back with you. Figured out what I did wrong, and now I'm back with you. It's just a simple error of starting on the wrong set of points to join together. And that's why, even though you don't have to, I would recommend marking everything out like I have, so that when you're doing this, you're going to have a reference line of where you need to go. And it's going to make it easier for you to set up your router and clamp your straight edge. Once you have the first set done, you're going to then connect them this way. And this is going to give you the outline of your diamond pattern. You can really do whatever you want with this as well. If you don't want diamonds, you want squares, you lay it out square. If you want just straight lines, only do one side. The sky's the limit, and your imagination is going to let you do whatever you would like here. And again, these lines are just rough. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to be routing them out. But you want to be able to see where you need to clamp so you get your clamp in the right line. And there you have it. It's the layout for the diamond pattern that we're going to cut. And it's going to look a lot like that one there when it's done. So the next step is you're going to have to figure out the distance from the center of your router bit, the center of the collet, to the outside edge of this round over on your router. And you want to use the round side, or you can also use the flat side, but you got to stick to one.
On my router, because it has this nice big long flat side, I'm going to use the flat side, and I believe there's an easy to find measurement from the outside to the center of this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to rip a piece of material that is that width. You're going to lay it on the line, and you're going to clamp your straight edge. You'll lay that piece on one of these lines, and then you'll clamp your straight edge beside it, remove that piece, and then run the router down your straight edge, and that's going to give you the offset you need to have your router follow that line perfectly. So it looks to me like it's about 57 millimeters. It's a little bit tough to judge, and the camera's going to throw it off a little bit. But again, it doesn't have to be perfectly accurate. I mean, right now it looks like it's 55, but I'm going to go 56 in between the two. We'll set up this table saw over here, rip that down. And then we'll have our piece ready.
Push. So there we go.
Piece ripped. And this is how it's going to work. I'll show you really quickly, and then we'll get into cutting it. You lay this strip down on your line between your 2 points. It's more important to get the points than it is to follow the line. There it is. And then you take your straight edge, and you're going to clamp the straight edge down right there. And then when you remove your guide piece, your straight edge is going to stay where it needs to be. The offset for your router is going to work perfect for that, and we can get going on this. So now I'm going to route this out for you guys. All right, so we're about halfway done. This went fairly smoothly. There was a few little mistakes, but they can be fixed. I'm gonna sand the whole thing afterwards. But there you can see one half of it, and there you can see one of my mistakes right there. If this were a piece that I was gonna keep or sell, I would be remaking it because of that, but it's not, so it's just as simple as carrying on and showing you guys the rest of it now. I'll route the other way, and then I'll sand off the lines that are left on the front, and you can see what this really looks like when it's all said and done. There you go. I just got to sand the top of it quickly to take off the other pencil marks. And I mean, this is actually a pretty cool looking piece. There's a few tiny imperfections in this, but it's an interesting way you can take a cheapish piece of Baltic birch and turn it into a pretty interesting 3D geometric design. Or you could take some solid wood walnut, oak, whatever you want, and route this pattern into it, and you're going to get a pretty interesting design as well. And you can really do it with some basic tools aside from a router, which not everybody has, some clamps, a straight edge, and a spacer. It's pretty easy to do. It's a pretty interesting looking outcome, and I hope this helps some guys try and do something a little bit different that you might not have thought of doing.